That's because of allegations the additional ballots for Biden were fake, including ballots from the dead. For example, there was a claim that more than 14,000 dead people voted in Detroit, but according to a fact check by the Epoch Times, that doesn't seem to be true. They cross-referenced about 30 randomly chosen entries from the list with the state's publicly accessible voter index data and found only 3 of them requested, sent, and returned their absentee ballots this year. All 3 were born after 1918, and none of them was listed as deceased. According to a spokeswoman for the Michigan Secretary of State, ballots of voters who have died are rejected in Michigan, even if the voter cast an absentee ballot and then died before Election Day. According to the New York Times, these are run-of-the-mill clerical errors that have been used as false evidence of voter fraud in Michigan. Another example. More than 500,000 mail-in ballots in Virginia and 200,000 in Nevada were sent to dead people or pets. Well, I think we all know which candidate Chairman Meow voted for. Anyway, that story isn't true either. Here's what happened in Virginia. The Center for Voter Information, a nonpartisan organization, mailed more than 2 million people ballot applications. That's right, ballot applications, not ballots. It was to boost voter participation. But due to an error by the printing company, 500,000 voters received ballot applications with an incorrect address printed on the return envelope. Here's what happened in Nevada. Nevada, unlike Virginia, mails absentee ballots to all registered voters. Now, these were actual ballots, not applications. Ahead of a primary this summer in Nevada, not the general election, about 226,000 ballots were returned to the election department because those voters no longer reside at the address they provided when they registered to vote. Now, separately from that, CBS reports the Nevada GOP sent Attorney General Barr evidence of 3,000 individuals who appear to have improperly cast mail ballots in the election. A Nevada judge has agreed to expedite the suit, but as of recording, I don't have an update. But the dead voter issue is far from dead. The Trump administration still claims there are instances where dead people have voted.
Let me just give you one concrete example, not anecdotal, but concrete example of what we believe to be valid voter fraud in the state of Pennsylvania. I draw your attention to an obituary listed for one Denise Ondish in Allegheny County, born 9/10/1946, deceased 10/22/2020. Her application to vote was received on 10/23, the day after she died. It was then mailed by the county back to her on 10/24/2020, 2 days after she had legally passed away. And the ballot was then received back at the county office on November 2nd, 2020. And when you go to the Secretary of State's website today, it says that she voted in this election, effective November 2nd, 2020, a full 9 days after Miss Ondish of Allegheny County passed away.
Which, if true, is still just one example of a ballot sent in by a dead person. But in October, Judicial Watch, an American conservative activist group, found that 353 counties in 29 states had voter registration rates exceeding 100%. Basically, there were more registered voters than eligible voters. Does that prove voter fraud? No. Most likely that means these counties aren't adhering to the National Voter Registration Act of 1993, which requires states to make reasonable efforts to clean their voter rolls. In other words, it's just a clerical mess, not necessarily intentional fraud. Judicial Watch sues states for this. Earlier this year, Judicial Watch sued Pennsylvania and North Carolina. Both states were pretty important in this presidential election. And again, Trump doesn't need proof that there was voter fraud. He just needs to make the whole thing seem like enough of a mess that he can get it into court. And that will give him and his team more time and power to investigate. Finally,